Hello explosive nerds. Welcome to another video on the channel. In the last issue, we followed the discovery of Ben Liu, a mutant who awakened far too late, and ended up wounded in a war he never even knew he was part of. Now, in the hands of the X-Men, his future remains uncertain. But danger does not wait. This time, the threat comes from the government itself. From the ONE, the Office of National Emergency. Soldiers in relentless armored suits, sent to hunt, contain, and eliminate mutants. At their head stands Agent Lundqvist, cold, calculating, the human face of a war without mercy. And here, the inevitable begins. The clash between Cyclops and the military force of Odin.E. A confrontation that will shape the future not only of the X-Men, but of the entire mutant race. So you know what to do. Drop your like, subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on all, and get ready, because the battle of the mutants is about to begin. Now, the ice of Alaska splits apart in a flash of energy. Suddenly, a fissure in space opens, and from it emerges Vanisher, bringing with him the armored troops of the One. Vanisher lifts his chin, a mocking smile on his face. Vanisher, we've arrived. So this is where the X-Men live. Their operation looks worse than I thought. Behind him, the One soldiers advance in formation, their heavy armor reflecting the cold light. The government's war machines march like metallic shadows. A command cuts through the tundra's silence. Commander, Unit 1 advance. Your objectives are programmed into your maps. And remember, no casualties. Lundqvist doesn't want us harming the mutants. Vanisher lets out a short laugh, dripping with irony. Vanisher, you've got to be kidding me. The commander snaps back, his voice cold as steel. Shut up, Vanisher. Do your job. Lundqvist will get what he wants. Vanisher shrugs, indifferent. I'm good, but you smart guys, tell me, how are you going to defeat the X-Men? Commander, easy, by vanishing. Suddenly, the commander's body distorts into living energy, flesh unraveling into sparks. He disappears with a snap in the air, taking all the soldiers with him. In an instant, the One strike force is inside the Alaskan factory, infiltrated in total secrecy. A clandestine invasion, driven by the will of Lundqvist. The freezing wind of Alaska cuts like blades, but inside a red pickup truck, the atmosphere is even more tense. Scott Summers, Cyclops, grips the wheel, trying to keep his focus while a female voice echoes in the background. Cyclops, firm, but with traces of concern. Quiet, Rogue. Do me a favor and trust me. He takes a deep breath, tries to insist. Anna Marie. But he stops, frustrated. Damn. A bitter thought rises in his mind, reflected in his murmured words. It's my fault for expecting Rogue to stay calm. Cyclops grabs the phone and calls Beast. Cyclops. Hank! On the other end, the deep and analytical voice of Beast responds. Beast. But of course. Cyclops. Direct. She didn't say. Didn't need to. Rogue is heading to Greymalkin. Beast growls, concerned. What? With what resources? Cyclops doesn't hesitate. Gambit, Jubilee, and Logan. Beast narrows his eyes, incredulous. And Cyclops. Just them. Beast. Just. Cyclops. They're living in the forests, and there are only 4 of them. That means, Beast, they're going to get beaten if they don't die. Cyclops. They and their new kids. The pickup truck pushes forward through the snow-covered road. The destination is inevitable, and the X-Men once again march straight into danger. The cold of Alaska surrounds everything, but the tension is greater than the ice. Scott Summers' red pickup truck stops in front of McDade's diner. Beast, on the communicator, still tries to make him hesitate. Beast, what are we going to do? Cyclops, we have to put our plans into action. Beast, and are you sure you won't reconsider? Cyclops, the level of danger will be high for everyone, them and us. Scott answers firmly, leaving no room for doubt, staring into the emptiness of the blizzard. Cyclops, tell that to Rogue, Gambit, Jubilee, and Wolverine. Probably the 4 most hard-headed mutants that ever existed, who are wrong. He closes the truck door with determination, ending the call. Cyclops. Of course, Hank. No problem. Beast still insists, but Scott cuts short. Cyclops. I have to go. Beast. Send a blessing to Agent Lundqvist. The communicator falls silent with a beep. Cyclops meets with Officer Robbins. A firm handshake seals the meeting. Cyclops. Chief Robbins. Sorry for not meeting you the other day. Robbins, in a respectful but somewhat heavy tone. Mr. Summers, good to see you. The scene opens outside the diner. O&E armored vehicles surround the place. Soldiers in black armor with rifles ready. Robbins looks Summers straight in the eye with a question that cuts like ice. Robbins, just to be clear, are things like this going to happen regularly in our little town? The silence seems to await the answer. The snow on the ground like a mantle. But the war has already begun. Scott Summers, with vapor escaping from his mouth, adjusts his coat and faces the room with the determination of someone who knows he carries the weight of an entire team. Cyclops, in a firm voice, but with a touch of discomfort, responds to Officer Robbins. Puts, my sincere apologies, Chief. I'll talk to him. He moves through the diner, where the murmur of conversations mixes with the clinking of cutlery. His target is clear, the table occupied by the man who represents authority and the weight of the government. Scott stops in front of him without lowering his guard. Cyclops. So, what's it going to be, Agent Lundqvist? Do you want the entire town looking at me with suspicion? Lundqvist, sitting almost relaxed, with a cold and calculating gaze, replies without hesitation, as if savoring every word. Lundqvist. That's right. That's exactly the idea. You've made the entire country suspicious of me, Summers. The words fall like iron, heavy and sharp, transforming the atmosphere of the small diner into an invisible battlefield. The snow may be outside, but the tension is all in here. The snow falls heavy, sliced by the wind like blades of ice, and a deep voice echoes in the silence of the night. Magneto narration. I mean those who matter. From high upon his throne of iron, the master of magnetism stares at the young girl beside him. Magneto, isn't it cold, child? But the answer comes firm, without hesitation. Temper, not. I don't feel cold. And my name is Temperi, not child. Magneto's eyes gleam with approval. Magneto, Temper, you took that name because you cannot be burned by fire, nor frozen by ice. Both only make you stronger, like glass, like steel. And you were tempered, weren't you? The young girl gazes at the horizon, but her voice is steady. Temper, yes, as you well know. Magneto's eyes narrow, his words cutting like the very wind. Magneto, I know well what it means to be tempered by tragedy. Just as you command temperatures, I command steel. The snow keeps falling, but the true weight here is not the winter. It is the lesson of a man who was once a king, passing on the burden of pain and of strength. Temper stares at the horizon, fists clenched, vapor escaping from her nostrils. Magneto, I admit my participation in your shaping. Temper firm, without turning. That's right. When you sentenced Necra and me to the pit in Krakoa. Magneto, his gaze cold as a blade. Do not kill man was our law. Do you hate me for the hypocrisy? Temper? Her face half marked by the cold, half ignited by fury. Temper, let me tell you something, Magneto. Of everyone here in the factory, of all the X-Men, I'm the only one who doesn't miss Krakoa. Do you have any idea why? Close on Temper's eyes, burning with restrained rage. Hank wasn't even there. He misses what he never lived. But I don't. The air vibrates around her, fire begins to wrap her hands. Temper, I was used in a utopian moralization so that Krakoa would become what it became. And I see you for what you are. The flames rise, taking shape around the railing. Temper, her voice echoing heavy. A fragile steel, in both cases easily broken. The psychic radio crackles, cutting through the storm. Kid Omega, this is Kid Omega. Psychic communication activated. As much as it pains me to admit it, Cyclops was right. At McDade's diner, the tension is as dense as the ice outside. Scott Summers stares down Lundqvist, the two separated only by a simple table, but the weight of the dialogue is like an arena of war. Cyclops, voice dry but firm. You seem annoyed, Agent. Lundqvist lifts his eyes, cold, chewing slowly before replying. I do seem so, don't I, Summers? Cyclops. I assume this is about San Francisco. Lundqvist presses his lips, memory throbbing like an open wound. Lundqvist. When the United States government so kindly handed you that factory, the understanding was that you'd stay holed up in there. Scott holds his stance, but strikes back with precision. Cyclops. There was no understanding, Agent. Only an implication. And I don't deal in implications. Scott's gaze narrows, words spat like blades. Cyclops. You know what was understood? That I was doing the government a favor by accepting the factory. Because it wasn't a gift. It was reimbursement. Or have you already forgotten about my trial? Scott, with venom and fury boiling over. Cyclops. I find it hard to forget, considering who I am and all that. Scott Summers versus the United States. The words hang between them like shattered ice. Sharp, heavy, impossible to ignore. The entire restaurant seems to tremble when Lundqvist slams the fork on the table, his eyes loaded with rage. Lundqvist. Listen here, Summers. But Scott's fury explodes before he can finish. With a dry punch on the table, the glass nearly tips over, spilling a little. Cyclops. Roaring with all the pain and venom accumulated. Cyclops. It's you who's going to listen. Summers' voice cuts through the air like a burst of energy. Cyclops. Orchid assassinated many of my kind. Legally imprisoned countless others. And me? I was captured, tortured, prepared for trial and execution. My eyes were sewn shut. My wife was murdered. With each word, his hand trembles on the table, his face marked by scars that time cannot erase. Cyclops. All with tacit permission from the United States. All with an understanding. He leans back in his chair, running his finger across the table as he continues. Cyclops. When I settled in the factory because of the damages that were inflicted upon me, personally that was a gift. Because I could have gotten much more. Across the table, Lundqvist remains firm, cold, as if the mutant's pain were nothing more than another statistic in his calculation. He wipes his mouth, breathes deeply. Cyclops, calmer now and sarcastic, picks up the menu. Cyclops. So now the NEO came to do what? Since our cook is a vegetarian, we're all vegetarians. And a burger would be nice. The acronym NEO, National Emergency Office. The silence weighs heavy. The air smells of gunpowder and resentment. And between them, it is not just a dialogue. It is a war fought at the table. The factory shakes with hurried footsteps and the smell of ozone. Kid Omega kneels beside Hank, supporting the head of his fallen teammate as the pulse of the attack still lingers. Kid Omega. We're under attack. Beast seems fine despite the stench, but to me he never smelled right anyway. Transmitting the last 2 minutes of his memories to you. Magik raises 2 fingers to her temple, bridging the psychic link as she stands with her sword strapped to her back. Magik. This always hurts the head. Like eating ice cream too fast. Okay. Hank was hit head-on with an energy beam, but he couldn't see who fired. Psylocke charges down the corridor, eyes scanning every shadow like blades. Psylocke, camouflage, invisibility, and if neither Quentin nor I picked up their minds. Clothes on Juggernaut's helmet, the red X carved across the steel like a warning. Juggernaut, they're using psychic shields. Whoever they are. Temper slides forward, bending the air as a river of ice erupts across the floor, shards crackling as they spread. Temper. They came prepared. The chaos of the factory keeps pulsing. Kid Omega stands over Hank's unconscious body, frustration burning in his voice. Kid Omega must have gone after Magneto or Ben Lee. Psylocke drops down from the rafters, voice like a blade, cutting him off. Psylocke, don't say Ben Liu's name out loud, you idiot. We don't need our enemies hearing things they can use against us. Juggernaut growls, fists tightening as he scans the empty corridors. Juggernaut. Yeah. But how the hell am I supposed to punch something I can't see? Magik moves past him, sword flashing as she pushes forward, eyes blazing. Magik. Stay sharp, Kane. They're clever. Mental and systemic blocks. Even thermal. Even to the naked eye. close on Magik's face, her voice dripping with fire and defiance. Magik, but I grew up among demons. Can they hide their souls too? The snow piles up on the diner's window, but the real weight is inside, between Scott Summers and Agent Lundqvist. The agent's words cut like knives. Lundqvist, the truth, Summers, is that it wasn't pretty. San Francisco was a disaster, a mutant disaster, with the X-Men involved up to their necks. Cyclops, a mutant disaster that we resolved. One person died, person that wasn't ours, or yours. Scott lowers his gaze, bites into the burger, the tension hidden in silence. The agent wastes no time, his voice a contained thunder. Lundqvist, right? Let's talk about this. This hit social media like a thermobaric bomb. Scott chokes, confused. Cyclops, what? He lifts his head, stares at the agent, trying to regain control, but Lundqvist drops the bomb that changes everything. On his phone screen, images and headlines flicker. I am Scott Summers. I'm a mutant. Like you. It's all right. Cyclops, what is this? Lundqvist, this? It's you admitting on camera that people are becoming mutants far beyond the normal activation window. They're saying that you're contagious, Summers. They're saying that there's a mutant disease. Close on the agent's icy stare as the Truth Seeker broadcast explodes across the display. The poison has already been unleashed. The flaming glow in Magik's eyes lights up the darkness of the factory. Magik, her voice sharp, points to the target. Magik, found them, 2 little flaming souls. Take them. In the golden flare, the distorted voices of the enemies echo, hesitant, soldiers in panic. How? Bring him down. But it's already too late. The ground trembles, and the living wall called Juggernaut charges forward like an avalanche of flesh and rage. Juggernaut, roaring with disdain. Seriously? Shooting tranquilizers? Those little toy guns aren't even fit to play with. He charges like an unstoppable tank, tearing up the ground beneath his feet. Juggernaut, you'll need everything you've got to stop the Juggernaut. A deafening impact shakes the factory. Crates fly. Iron barrels are hurled through the air. The wall bursts apart with a crash, and Cain Marco explodes through the scene like a living hurricane. The weight of the battle has just risen, and the X-Men know stopping the Juggernaut is never just a fight. It's surviving the impossible. The darkness of the factory breaks when Quentin Quire raises his hands, psychic energy pouring out like violet lightning. Kid Omega found them. Suddenly, water crashes down from the buckets in the ceiling in violent torrents. The corridor floods in a second. Psylocke, diving into the wave with lethal precision, shouts as she spins in the air with a devastating kick. Psylocke, they still haven't tried to kill us. Yet, we should be nice and repay in kind. The impact explodes against the invisible enemy, scattering water and force. The cold voice of Psylocke continues, firm as steel. Psylocke, they may be cunning, but they're not ninjas. She strikes again, the psychic blade igniting in her hand. The pink light cuts the air. A roar of pain echoes down the corridor. Kid Omega gestures nervously, trying to keep control of the situation. Kid Omega, Magik and Juggernaut. Don't kill the guys you found. Got it? The answer comes loaded with raw sarcasm, with pure brute force. Juggernaut, roaring, you know, they kinda stopped moving here. Kid Omega, muttering through his teeth. God damn it. Juggernaut, with fury. What? I'm the Juggernaut, kid. Water still drips down the walls, but the message is clear. The entry of the X-Men does not go unnoticed. The psychic lights blaze in shades of violet and pink, flooding the darkness of the factory. At the center, Psylocke raises her psychic blade, her gaze steady, her breath controlled amid the chaos. Psylocke, they didn't come after Magneto or our guest. Silence hangs for a moment, before the revelation drops like a sentence. The psychic aura pulses stronger in her hand. Psylocke, they came after CEREBRO. Kid Omega glances around, eyes wide, as if reality itself is closing in on them. Temper stays ready, every muscle on edge. Magik grips her sword tightly, and Juggernaut, a living wall, braces for the next wave. The truth finally reveals itself. This wasn't just an attack. It was a hunt for the heart of the X-Men. The heavy silence at McDade's diner. Lundqvist leans forward, his voice dripping with contempt. Lundqvist, this is the reason I don't like you and your X-Men. Running around causing me headaches, Summers. He narrows his eyes, venom in his tone. Lundqvist, you know we have our own X-Men, right? Scott takes a calm bite of his sandwich, never lowering his gaze. Cyclops, I know about X-Factor, just like I know they put Alex in charge. And I also know my brother was never capable of operating at my level. Scott sets the sandwich down on the plate and leans forward, his voice gaining weight. Cyclops, let's do this, Agent Lundqvist. My team and I are going to keep doing what we're doing. And you and the End are going to allow it. Lundqvist clenches his fists, his face red with anger. Lundqvist, you threatening me, Summers? Why would I think that? Scott answers with a cold half-smile. Cyclops, of course I'm threatening you, because, like I said, I'm doing you a favor. He lists each name like sharpened weapons. Cyclops, Psylocke, Kid Omega, Juggernaut, Magik, an assassin, terrorist, a supervillain, and a half-demon girl on a good day, along with Magneto. Scott stares straight ahead, his voice hard as steel. Cyclops, you're going to want them kept busy, because you want them to be my X-Men, not my Brotherhood. He takes another bite, the crisp crunch of the French fry echoing like a final sentence. The Golden Dome's interior pulses like a mechanical heart. Narrow stairways, muffled steps, whispered voices. O&E soldier climbing the stairs. Come on, it has to be here. They pass through the final door and face the towering metallic colossus. O&E soldier staring at the device. Found it. The last CEREBRO in the world. Pins click free, grenades in hand. Blind confidence. Soldier, well, don't celebrate too much, because this CEREBRO is about to be extinct. Soldier, we're gonna blow the whole damn thing and clip the wings off those muties. The side door slides open. Temper emerges from the shadows. Firm, steady, eyes blazing. Temper, that's what you want, isn't it? To stop us from finding our own. To keep us separated, divided, fractured. The soldiers ignite the charges. Smoke coils into the air. Soldier, it's just a little girl, and no criminal record. Soldier, Lundqvist said not to kill them. Cold soldier, he's just an operator. He'll understand it was collateral damage. Burn it. The soldiers hurl the grenades toward Temper and the CEREBRO. Temper grabs the grenades in the air and stares at the soldiers under the golden light of the dome. Temper, were you planning to burn me? Close on her gaze, icy and relentless. Temper, I don't burn, idiots. The air around shifts. Heat flees as if obeying her will. The thermite charges hiss, the orange glow dies, and the vapor turns into crusts of ice on the soldiers' exoskeletons. Temper, I move the heat around. The heat of the thermites becomes ice on your suits. The helmets and joints freeze, the armors creak. Temper takes a step, her voice low like a sentence. And yes, I do have a criminal record. I killed men like you, men who came to my home like you, with weapons, just like you, and they paid the price. Soldier, frozen by the ice, do not move. Temper walks slowly out of the chamber, the frozen air shattering behind her like broken glass. With every step, the ground cracks beneath her boots, ice covering everything, turning chaos into absolute silence. She doesn't look back, but her voice echoes through the metallic corridors. Temper, lucky you. Close on her cold, determined gaze, a mix of fury and exhaustion. Temper, that I'm done being collateral damage. The vapor fades. Behind her, the frozen soldiers remain motionless, silent witnesses that Temper is no longer a victim. She's the storm that comes after the fire. The blizzard thickens, covering everything in heavy silence. Lundqvist stares at Scott Summers, the ice in his eyes matching the cold around them. Lundqvist, so that's it? You really think a handful of mutants can take on the entire military machine of the United States? Scott answers without hesitation, firm as steel under pressure. Cyclops, if we're forced to, yes. The agent clenches his jaw, snow falling between them like a countdown. Cyclops, and if it comes to that, I can always call my wife. Scott gives a faint, cold smile. Calculated, fearless. Cyclops, and tell your bosses that they don't want Scott Summers versus the United States to become reality. Behind him, the X-Men line up. Magik, Psylocke, Kid Omega, Juggernaut, ready, determined, forming a living wall. Quentin Quire's psychic energy wraps around a group of captured soldiers, floating in the air like a silent reminder of power. The snow keeps falling, but in that moment, between ice and fire, the Cold War between humans and mutants begins to heat up once more. The blizzard sweeps across the field, covering the sound of engines and footsteps. Scott speaks with authority, the wind cutting through his voice. Cyclops, Psylocke, take care of the prisoner transfer. I want to wash my hands after negotiating with our friend. As the X-Men organize, Cyclops walks away. Tense. The mutant enters the diner, trying to take a deep breath, the sound of the doorbell muffled by the storm outside. Cyclops, gasping, no air, no air. He leans over the sink, trying to regain control. Cyclops, damn it, not now. Pull yourself together. Come on, pull yourself together. But the air doesn't come. The mirror reflects panic, sweat, shallow breaths, veins pulsing under his skin. Cyclops, no air, what the hell? He bends over, desperate, fighting against something he can't understand. The camera closes in on his face, sweat dripping, the sound of despair filling the scene. Cyclops, panting, whispers his last words before darkness takes over. Breathe, breathe, breathe. To be continued. Upstarts. In this third issue of the X-Men, we saw the conflict between mutants and the government reach its breaking point. Cyclops made it clear that, if necessary, he'll stand against the entire military machine of the United States. A declaration of war that changes everything. The world now knows the X-Men will never back down. But what comes next is even bigger. In the next issue, X-Men number 4, get ready for the impact. Juggernaut steps into the center of the storm, breaking through everything in his path. Old ghosts will rise, alliances will be tested, and the war between mutants and the government is about to explode. So don't forget to leave your like, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and stay tuned because the next chapter is going to be epic. See you next time, nerds.